Gallup recently surveyed more than 7,500 full-time employees about burnout. Okay. 23% of those workers said they felt burnt out more often than not, and 44% reported feeling burnt out sometimes. So to put that into context, nearly two-thirds of full-time workers are dealing with burnout at some point while at work. And those are the ones that have reported and participated in this survey, because what we know about burnout is that there's a lot of shame and guilt involved in it. So a lot of people will not be honest about how burnt out they're feeling. Okay. So, but it's become such a concern that the World Health Organization upgraded its definition and expanded it in its handbook of diseases. And basically they really recognized it recently in 2019 as an occupational health hazard. Now, what we know about the pandemic is that it has increased and intensified burnout because there's no separation between work and home life. You're doing your work on your dining room table, closing it up, and then serving your family on your dining room table. So there is literally no boundary or no separation between work and home life, which is increasing burnout. In fact, the World Health Organization included it in the 11th revision of International Classifications of Diseases. So think about that. Burnout equals disease. That's a serious classification. Their handbook describes burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not successfully been managed. So think about it kind of like going into the ring with Mike Tyson, and you've got your hands over your head like this, and he keeps kind of wailing at you, and you just can't get out of the situation. That's what burnout feels like to me. It's like just being hammered constantly, energetically, by this chronic stress that you can't deal with. And of course, employee burnout is becoming an issue for all companies all over the world. And if the trends are believed, and I'll tell you in a second about my own experience with how organizations are dealing with burnout, it's going to become more prevalent for years to come. So I did a webinar on burnout for HR.com in June of this year, and we had 877 signups. For the response from organizations like Jefferson Healthcare Systems, Cleveland Clinic, both medical healthcare systems, and Thermo Fisher, which is a vendor to Big Pharma, have all said to me, you need to come and do this program internally because our people are wildly burnt out. So if you got three major organizations like that, and if we believe that corporate America is a microcosm of society as a whole, think about that measurement, right? They're reacting to it, and they're saying that this is a huge problem. In fact, the impact is overwhelming. According to one article, now this is 2019, doesn't that seem so far away? 2019, there was an increase in stress and burnout incidents reported. Now again, let's remember, it's only the ones reported. So people who are experiencing shame and blame and guilt internally over burnout are not going to report it. So these, I'm thinking, and from my experience, I believe these numbers are low. The results had an impact on workplace culture, actually causing them to decline. So what does that mean? It means it erodes workplace culture. It just does. I mean, people are so energetically consumed by burnout that they're not making good decisions. Careless mistakes are being made. They're eroding personal, professional relationships that you may have cultivated over years because you're so stressed out and burnt out. I mean, I like to equate it to, it feels like an electric charge going through your body, which probably stems from cortisol and adrenaline being pumped into your system. Because remember, our bodies have been negatively wired from our primal days, right? But we're not supposed to remain in the limbic system or the amygdala. We're not supposed to, that's supposed to be a temporary kind of fight or flight or defense mechanism. But if you're constantly stressed out and you're constantly in that system, you're at this almost like, I don't want to compare it to a high, but it feels like this kind of manic high. And if you're constantly operating in that, stress is just going to be the norm. So you don't even know what peace and being centered and grounded feels like anymore, because you've been so hijacked in the limbic system for so long. To say that it erodes workplace cultures is not surprising, because how could it not be? If you got a bunch of leaders that are stressed out and you believe that, or we know for sure that people look to their leaders for their emotional cues professionally. If you see your leader acting burnt out and they're your measurement or they're your guidepost for how you should be behaving in your workplace, what do you think, what message is that sending? Oh, if the leader's burnt out, then that's what I'm supposed to be doing, because that's my measure of success. You've got a bunch of burnt out people running around who are a shell of who they could be if they just took care of themselves and slowed down and put in strong boundaries. So if any of these symptoms sound familiar, or if any of these stories resonate with you, click the link below to go to the webinar to learn how I can help you heal from burnout.